hearers of your word, and give us grace that we may clearly understand and freely choose the way of your wisdom. Through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
The first reading today is from the New Testament, the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 14 to 17, on page 158 of the Free Bible. For all who are led by the Spirit of God are children of God. For you did not receive a spirit of slavery to fall back into fear, but you have received a spirit of adoption, when we cry, Abba, Father. It is that very Spirit bearing witness with our spirit that we are children of God. And if children, then heirs, heirs of God and joint heirs with Christ, if in fact we suffer with him, so that we may also be glorified with him.
Our second reading this morning comes from the book of Acts, chapter 2, verses 1 through 21. And when the day of Pentecost had come, they were all together in one place. And suddenly from heaven there came a sound like a rush of a violent wind, and it filled the entire house where they were sitting. Divided tongues as fire appeared among them, and a tongue rested on each of them. All of them were filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other languages, as the Spirit gave them ability. Now there were devout Jews from every nation under heaven living in Jerusalem. And at this sound, the crowd gathered and was bewildered, because each one heard them speaking in their native language. Amazed and astonished, they asked, "Are these not all who are speaking Galatians? And how is it that we hear each of them in our own native language? Parthians, Medes, Edomites, and residents of Mesopotamia, Judea, Cappadocia, Pontus, and Asia, Phrygia and Phrygia, and Egypt, and parts of Libya belonging to Cyrene, and visitors from Rome, both Jews and proselytes, Cretans and Arabs. In our own language, we hear them speaking about God's deed of power." And all were amazed and perplexed, saying to one another, "What does this mean?" But others sneered and said, "They are filled with new wine." They're drunk. But Peter, standing with the 11, raised his voice and addressed them. "Men of Judea, who live in Jerusalem, let this be known to you. Listen to what I say. Indeed, these are not drunk, as you suppose, for it's only 9 o'clock in the morning. No, this is what was spoken through the prophet Joel. In the last days it will be, God declares, that I will pour out my Spirit on all flesh, and all your sons and all your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men will dream dreams. And even upon my slaves, both men and women, in those days I will pour out my Spirit, and they shall prophesy, and I will show portions of the heavens above and the signs of the earth below, blood and fire and smoky mist. And the sun shall be turned to darkness and the moon to blood, before the coming of the Lord's great and glorious day. And then everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved." This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Would you pray with me? Holy Spirit, come into this place. Be with the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our acceptable in your sight. May anything that is not from you be quickly forgotten, but all the words that are from you take root and light a fire in our lives. We pray all of this in your holy name. Amen. Here we go. Gotta have my preaching juice. So, Pentecost. So excited. As you know, I've shown my hand many a times about this, that of the liturgical year, this happens to be my favorite. Easter is the day in the Christian calendar. Okay? I want to be clear about that. That's the one. That's the one that defines what it means to be Christian. When Christ is born, that's when it defines what it means to be loved. Christmas. When God sends God's only Son. But this is when it defines what it means to live in the light of God. This is the day that we celebrate in the Christian church the birth of the church and the gift of the Holy Spirit. And the part of the Trinity, in my opinion, that's the easiest to approach, to access, and to have. Every day, all day, any day that we want. Because this is the work you get to do alongside God. Do you see? Okay? God being big God, this, and you Dan's going to send me for heresy. And so is Richard. Big creating God. That's hard for me to approach sometimes. Sinless Christ, who God and Christ do the work on the cross. I got no hand in that. It's done without me. But this I can have a hand in. That's why I like it. Because I don't like things out of my control. No kidding. You haven't learned that about me yet. This is the work we get to do alongside God. This is the day that we are adopted into the family. We are given the power of God to do the work of God on earth. And that's amazing. That's amazing. You're given the power of God on this day. So on that day in Pentecost, it has several names. I'm trying to remember them all. Lost it. It's like Pentecost, Feast of the First Fruits. There's several names in the Jewish tradition for what this day is that they're celebrating. Okay, that's why they're all in Jerusalem. It's a holy day for the Jews as well. And they're all there, and they're all gathered. And from the best I could do with the reading of the names, they're from all over. Yeah? Did you catch that as I stumble through it? So, what? There's at least 6. We'll say 7. Let's name 7 languages. Go. French, Spanish, Russian, German, Chinese, Japanese, Italian, English, Mandarin, Arabic, Navajo, Norwegian. Okay. All of these people. Is anybody English not your original language in here? Just out of language. Now there is some variant in belief about speaking in tongues. Okay? This is the original speaking in tongues. People hearing in their native language. Everybody, all these, so can you picture that? The cacophony of noise, of people speaking to each other in all these different languages. You see that? And then the noise, the sound of a violent rushing wind. This isn't like, this is nothing. You know what I'm saying? Little bit flame. No. The sound of a violent rushing wind might silence such a crowd. And then the 12 start preaching, prophesying. We don't have what they prophesy, actually. The quote from Joel is the rebuttal about what's happening. But everybody can suddenly hear them in their native language, and the assumption is they're drunk. But surely they're not drunk. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. Wisconsiners know better than that. That's no excuse. We're just started early. It's a party. But he comes up and says, no, that's not what's happening. So I'm going to tell you a very personal story. And I called and got permission to share this message last night. So there's one time in my life that I experienced speaking in tongues. My good friend Claudia from seminary and I were prayer partners for years. The whole time we were in seminary. She was in my wedding. And Claudia and I would pray together multiple times every week. Claudia is from Mexico. Her native language is Spanish. But she spoke very good English. Because, you know, her classes and all the things. She lives in our country. We were sitting together one day. I want to remind you, I have prayed with this woman 1,000,000 times. But only once did this happen to us that we can remember. We were praying, and as she was praying, it was just, I prayed for her, and I remember this kind of intense feeling, and then she prayed for me, and I remember just feeling coated. I have no other word for it than that. And after we finished praying, Claudia said to me, "When did you learn Spanish?" And I said, "Excuse me?" She said, when did you learn Spanish?" I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." She goes, "I heard you in Spanish." She said, "So I prayed for you in Spanish." And I said, "You what?" Because I only heard it in English. But I'm used to hearing her voice in English. And we both kind of looked at each other. And that's the last time we talked about it until last night. I'm serious. That's speaking in tongues. That is the crazy, and I want to say, I don't know what we prayed about that day. I don't know what it was. But this is someone I had a deep spiritual connection with, who heard me and heard my prayer in her own language. And I heard her in my own language. That is the power of this. This is we're talking about soul language. That is what's happening. That is part of the reason I get so jazzed about this, because this is the work of God. Two people praying together. That's it. That's all it is. Or, bigger than that. One person, or a whole bunch of people, standing up, talking about God's greatness, and everybody understands them? That's amazing. And it's because they're one family. You ever been part or been connected with a family who speaks multiple languages? It's craziness. Does Teddy's family speak Greek?
They do.
Yes. I see you nodding. I can only imagine the Greeks.
It's very chaotic.
Or you know, somebody who's like Spanish is their native language and they kind of like slip into English and Spanish. That's more common in Texas, right? But all one family. And that's what the Romans passage is pointing to today. The Romans passage is talking about what it means to be under this power of the Spirit. We are one family. We were not given, not given a spirit of slavery from Romans, what does it say? For you did not receive the spirit of slavery to fall back on. You didn't receive the Spirit of God so that you could be trapped in fear. God did not give the Holy Spirit on the day of Pentecost to the church for you to not use it and to fall under someone else's authority. God gave the Holy Spirit that day so that you might receive the spirit of adoption. So that when you cry, Abba, Father, anybody? Abba, Father, it's another way, Daddy. Anybody call their daddy, Daddy? Mine's a daddy. Huh?
Only when you want something.
Only when you want something. True for prayer as well. But you are part of the family of God. Now, not everybody has a great relationship with their father. I want to name that right now. But there is a holy Father who you can always call Daddy. Because you have been adopted into this family by the gift of the Holy Spirit. When we're given the Spirit, God says, I'm taking you with me. And breaks down all those borders. Now, we have arguments later in the scriptures about no longer Gentile or Jew, no longer man or women, yes? But he says it right here. There is no more division. We are all given the same Spirit. That comes back to the argument a few weeks ago, right? About the food. They were given the same Spirit that we got on the day of Pentecost. Thus, they're just like us. No divisions. And if you are children of God, then you are heirs to God. Heirs to the kingdom. To the power, to the beauty, to the all of it. It's yours. You are royalty. Do you know that? Royalty? Anybody? Okay. I'm royalty. I will accept sometimes. But what do we want of them? I was trying to think about this morning. I'm like, I expect a royal to carry themselves with dignity, with compassion, with warmth, but also with enough authority in their soul to stand their ground. That to me sounds like a really good Christian, doesn't it? Dignity, compassion, warmth, and authority. Because you are adopted into this family. So look around, look on the other side of the church. Look at each other. One big messy family. Outside of this room, one much bigger messy family. Much messier family. But there is a language we all can speak. That language is love. We all speak the language of love, compassion, and warmth. So, as you go out from here this week, know that you are God's people, claimed, named, loved, and part of the royal family. The royal family with a daddy who's willing to love you, support you, and grant you what you need